Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation of that message, it reads like this: Hello brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My story, it goes on like this. My wife, from her family side, they are quite traditional people and they respect tradition a lot. So in their family, what happens is that they believe in water spirits, and they believe that this is a gift that runs in their own family. Even when I was about to get married to her, one of her aunties actually called me, and she told me that no matter what I was going to do, I was supposed to keep her happy, because this was the way that they believe that these water spirits operate in their lives. I was told that if I was going to make my wife cry, then my life was going to become very terrible. I was told that if she was going to be happy, then my life was going to become enjoyable. Yes, my brother, I managed to find out that this was nothing but the truth, because when I was still back home, as someone who was always into construction business, when my wife was happy, then we always managed to get some customers. But when my wife would be sad or angry, things will get so bad in the house. We would reach a point whereby we would go for days without eating. And as for my wife, she has that gift whereby if she would just go out, someone would actually give her money, then she would return back with plastics and plastics that filled with groceries. And this is the way that me and my wife had been living our peaceful life just before greediness had entered into my heart. It then happened that one of my high school friends told me that he had started his own construction company, and he had started his own construction company here in South Africa. He then invited me, and I gladly came here to South Africa, and with the experience that I had, he made me a foreman in his company, and everything was really going great. But what I found out was that life had totally changed back home. Even though we didn't have any money at all, but we were able to survive, to go by, because we could actually go into the fields and plant some food whereby we would eat the food. But upon our arrival here in South Africa, we found out that if you do not have money, then you can actually starve to death. When his businesses would have gone down, then my friend would actually help me out, but it was never enough. I then thought of a plan of trying to open up my own construction business. I think that is when I made the worst mistake of my life, because now there was a lot of responsibility that I had placed on my own shoulders. Now I didn't have anywhere to go to if things were going to be very hard for me. I was now just being my own boss. I worked for the first 2 months and business was really going great. And then me and my wife, we had a great fight. She then returned back home to Zim, and I can say that I struggled, my brother, for the whole year. I could not even get any contract or any piece job at all. It was only after I had renegotiated again with my wife that was when I was able to start living a nice life again. My wife returned back to South Africa at that time. Her own brother had recently had his first son. So my own sister, the man that she got married to, I can say that spiritually he is not a nice man. He is someone that is too quick, and he is someone who uses a lot of charms, but he just hides behind him being a red garment prophet, but he is just a traditional healer. So I then sent him some money because they wanted to come to buy some groceries. So when when they came to South Africa, that was when they met this child that my wife's brother had recently had. And after they were gone, I then started speaking with my brother-in-law because they were on their way going to see one of my cousins. He then said that, brother-in-law, we have to sit down and talk. He then came back, and when we spoke, because he said that this issue, we cannot discuss this issue over the phone, we need to sit down and speak about it. So I thought that maybe there was something that was wrong with this child, my brother-in-law's child, and I was really happy to assist so that I can show my wife that I cared for her, and I cared for her relatives. When my brother-in-law returned back from visiting my cousin who was staying in another province, he then said that we need to have a discussion, but let us go somewhere else whereby no one is going to hear what I am about to tell you. So we then pretended as if we were going to the spaza to buy something. We started walking in that location that we were staying, and we went to this other park. As we were sitting in that park, that was when he said that, brother-in-law, that child, the one whom my brother-in-law had recently had, he said that the child had a great gift of wealth, and these gifts, they were brought upon him by the river spirits. Back in our country, we call it manjuzu. So these are like mermaid spirits. He said that if we were going to find a way to convince this spirit not to stay like possessing his body, but to come and possess my own son's body, then I was going to become a multi-millionaire. And at that time, my brother-in-law was not honest enough with me that this was not like inviting them, but this was like stealing this child's gift that God had granted him, the gift of wealth. So I agreed to everything. At that time, that was when we all returned back to Zim like we always did during the Christmas holidays, and we had already set out our plan how we were going to do this. When we arrived back home, me, my wife and their relatives, we all stay in the same village, so we just grew up together. Me and my brother-in-law, we then traveled to this other old lady. She is a type of a traditional healer whom we always had stories of her going underneath the river to collect some charms and herbs, sometimes even staying for a month whilst she will be underneath the water. We spoke with her about this issue, and we told her that we wanted the gift that my brother-in-law had seen in that newborn baby. She then said that the thing that we wanted to do, it was going to be a soul for a soul, and blood dropped, and it was going to be a soul for a soul, and there was blood that was going to be requested so that we can transfer that blessing from my wife's family and transferring that blessings into my own bloodline. So blood was supposed to be spilled. Brother Nashi, when evil has entered into your heart, I swear to you that you can do whatever you think that it is necessary to. It is what me and my brother-in-law decided. We then asked that old lady, whom were we supposed to sacrifice? And I was told that this sacrifice was supposed to come from my own loins, meaning that the children that I had given birth to, I was supposed to choose one amongst them. But my brother, I negotiated with that old lady, and I said, is there anything that we can do, because I only have 2 kids? Is there anything that we can do to spare the lives of my children? Because what will be the purpose of me becoming a millionaire, yet I would have lost my child? Then that old lady said that she was going to speak with the spirits, and the next morning she gave us an answer, and she told me that we were supposed to go and leave a cow by the river, a cow and a chicken, and these items that we were going to leave by the river, they were going to be the ones that will be standing in the place of my son's blood. And then the river spirits were going to tell us what they wanted next. my brother, from there on, I quickly purchased that cow from this same old lady because she has a lot of cattle. We went to the river and we left the cow as well as the chicken. Made sure that the cow and the hen that we had gone to live by the river, none of them had any black markings on them. They were just white with a little bit of another color, but as long as it was not black, it was fine. The next morning, then that traditional healer, that old lady, got into a trance. Then the spirits started speaking with us, and they told me that indeed the gifts had been accepted, but there was still something that was required. The blood of a human being was still going to be required so that the gifts can be transferred from my wife's family and being transferred back into my own family. I then suggested that how about I just sacrifice one of my cousin's child, and then the spirit said, indeed, you are a man with a brave heart. I was then asked the name of the person that I wanted to be sacrificed, and I mentioned the name of my cousin brother's child, and then I was told that it was done. The child was going to die and his blood was going to be harvested. Then I was going to become wealthy. That is how I started making money. Right now I am someone who is rich, but that traditional healer said that this is just like the tip of the iceberg, because she said if these water spirits decide to give you blessings, they will give you so much blessings that are not even imaginable. And all of these things, I did it, and my wife, she does not even know anything. Sometimes whenever I see that she will be saddened by the passing away of her brother's child, the one that I stole the gift from, I just buy her something nice, because this child, the way that he passed away, those water spirits, they said that they cannot watch him suffer, that then they strangled him to death and he just died in his sleep. And my wife and her relatives, they do not even understand what went wrong with her. This is my own confession. Oh, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me. Then we had to give you this translation.